deep inner realization about collective power. It was 2012 when there was a terrible gang rape in India in a moving bus. I felt that something is really, really wrong because we said that the world would change with more education, with more incomes, and yet violence against women hasn't stopped. In fact, it's continued not just in India but across the world. And so I started asking the question on what does it mean to be a good woman or a good man, because no matter where you are, parents try and raise their kids to be good kids, right? A good girl or a good boy. So I asked with those simple questions. The more educated you are, the more intellectual you are, you start hiding. You start hiding the fact that you may be a powerful woman, but you may have still a lot of fears. Or that you're a powerful man, but that you're afraid to show your weakness or what you think is a weakness. But underneath all this, the story of women's lives and men's lives is not that different in the US than it is amongst the educated in India. So I feel that we're all locked into very narrow definitions of masculinity or femininity. You know, when my daughter was 3 years old, one day, she ran into a room with just her little underpants and screamed and said, "Mama, I is a woman." And what does that mean? I think it really means taking joy and pride in whoever you are. And I think my main message for women, mothers and fathers, because fathers have a huge impact on girls, is to broaden acceptable behavior and take the cues from girls and not limit them by saying you shouldn't, should not. We should drop the word should from our vocabulary for boys and girls and whatever a child wants to do. That's what gives really confidence and brings about change. And a sense of security, deep security inside, that I can be who I want to be in this world. Deep inner realization about collective power is that when you come together, any oppressed group, when you come together, power goes way beyond what I can do individually. I've learned that the most important thing is to let go of self-judgment, that there's nothing wrong with me, that there's nothing stopping me from taking action. I think the second thing I've learned is that joy is continuous. It's very powerful because then it opens the heart and then you can be even more generous or just be present without stress and anxiety. And train our minds to bring in the joy, to bring in the sadness, to bring in the grief. Being joyous doesn't mean you have to jump and scream, but it's in a sense of well-being, that all is well with me. And when all is well with me, I can act in a way to make all is well in the world, in my own small way. I go through a ritual of what am I feeling? It may be anger, it may be hurt, what is underneath that? And then take 5 deep breaths. And that just releases the nervous system, and then another response is possible, that thing. And in the evening, my partner and I, we focus on what brought us joy. And it could be little things, like the moment I looked at that little girl and she was smiling in a particular way. Or it could be, I created a great meal today, or I gave a big talk today and that went well, or I got an email from someone. I think it changes, the research shows it shifts. It shifts the mind, which shifts the biochemistry, and again puts us in a virtuous cycle of well-being. I think what's really important about this conference on well-being and about the social justice movements of today is that they're bringing in notions of love. It's about connecting with each others, it's about compassion, it's about caring. And yet in the policy world, we're afraid to talk about these things. I think we have to realize that the gender story is a really important story because it's the foundation of society. It's the foundation of capitalism. It's a foundation of religion. And yet we pretend it isn't. And each one of us, no matter where we are, has a gender story. And we need to start talking and thinking about these gender stories and how they constrain us, how they shape us, right? It's a made-up story, so we can change that story and give ourselves greater freedoms, greater degrees of freedom to be a better human being. So I think that to me is fundamental, and that includes the full humanity of who we are.